Greetings and welcome back to the World Numismatic News as we now take a closer look at Lincoln cent varieties from 1983. We'll begin at the Denver Mint, where we have a doubled obverse variety to look for, and even though it's not as strong as a similar variety from the next year, this is one of the famous doubled ear varieties. In this case, the result of Class 8 or tilted hub doubling, where you can clearly see underneath or towards the south of Lincoln's ear is strong doubling resembling an additional earlobe. Now, it's also interesting to note that on this variety, at least in most examples you see, there is also a die crack running diagonally across Lincoln's hair. An interesting variety that is definitely worth keeping an eye out for. And in 2026, Great Collections sold a PCGS graded MS66 example of this variety for the amount of $4,050. From there, we move over to the Philadelphia Mint, where we have a couple of doubled reverse varieties to look for. First up is a coin that is the result of Class 5 or pivoted hub doubling. It can be identified mostly by very strong separation lines and clear doubling on the letters on the reverse. Start by looking at the letters of United, which should all be doubled quite clearly towards the right of the individual letters, an effect that is still present on the letters of States, though once you traverse closer towards the right side of the coin, it does become less prominent. There is also some more minor doubling on the letters of E pluribus unum, displaying mostly towards the south or towards the bottom of the letters themselves. And then the left-facing side of the memorial building, particularly on column number 1 and the steps, has some very minor doubling to account for here as well. But the next place you should be looking is definitely the letters of 1 cent, especially the letters of 1, which all show strong signs of doubling, with clear separation lines displaying on every single letter of the word. And the recent auction history on this coin includes an example graded by PCGS as MS66 Red, which was sold in 2025 by Great Collections for $691. Then we come to the second doubled reverse variety for 1983, and definitely the stronger of the two. Here, the doubling is the result of Class 4 or offset hub doubling, where the die shifted slightly towards the north in between hubbings, resulting in one of the strongest doubled reverse varieties in the entire Lincoln cent series. The doubling is simply everywhere on the letters of E pluribus unum, as well as the dots separating those words on the motto. All of the letters of United States of America, with America and United seeing the boldest doubling in this regard. The entire memorial building is doubled as well. The tops of the columns are excellent places to spot this doubling, but the bottom of the memorial building, in fact the entire thing, is doubled due south as well. And then, of course, the letters of 1 cent are all also doubled very strongly, and this is probably the easiest place to spot the doubling on this coin. Now, this variety leaves little doubt when it comes to authentication, but if you want to be absolutely certain, then you can look for telltale markers on the obverse of the coin, specifically die scratches traveling diagonally outwards from the E of Liberty. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the obverse is actually known to exist with at least two completely different reverse die marriages, indicating that the variety was in fact spotted fairly early on in production. The reverse was then swapped out for a non-variety one, explaining why this variety is in fact so difficult to get a hold of. In 2026, a PCGS graded MS65 red example of this coin with CAC certification was sold at auction for $560. From there, we move on to the double die obverse varieties that you can look for on the Philadelphia penny from 1983. We begin with the one that is probably, has the least amount of doubling on it for the year. And this is another case of pivoted hub doubling, so the best place to spot the doubling for this coin would be on the letters of "In God We." All of the letters are doubled towards, or at least the doubling displays towards the west of the individual letters. The O and D of God are excellent indicators, with strong separation lines on all of the letters. In this case, the D and the W and E of we, you also have notching on the lower left-hand serifs as well. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is some notching and doubling on the letters of liberty as well, but compared to the doubling that you can spot on "In God We" section, it really is quite minor in comparison. So in 2023, when Heritage Auctions was dispersing the Stephenville collection, a coin like this, graded as MS67 red by PCGS, was sold at auction for $1,560. The next variety is one that can easily slip through the proverbial cracks if you're not paying attention. One that, quite frankly, is oftentimes overlooked in favor for the more dramatic varieties that are found within this year. On this coin, the only real doubling that you should be paying attention to occurs on the date, where the 9, the 8, and the 3 all have doubling that is seen displaying nearly due south of the numbers. This is especially noticeable on the roundings of the numbers in each case. Now, to be fair, there is also additional doubling elsewhere on the coin. Apart from the date, the strongest example of this would be on the letters of trust, where again the roundings of the S and the U display doubling in the most eye-catching manner. Despite the doubling not being quite as strong when compared to its siblings, the coin is nonetheless equally as sought after by specialist collectors. An example of this is in 2025, when an MS67 red example, graded by PCGS and sold at auction by Great Collections for $2,373. Then, the last doubled obverse coin we'll be looking at has doubling that is very similar to the FS103 coin that we looked at just a while ago. But in this case, the doubling is slightly stronger, a point that we will definitely notice when we look at the letters of liberty. Now, where you should be able to notice the doubling displaying in a southwesterly direction. Notching to the upper flag of the E is a key indicator here, with very strong separation lines displaying towards the west on every single letter of the word. Then, in addition to that, there is also extremely strong separation lines and clear, unmistakable doubling on the letters of "In God We," with additional doubling on the letters of trust, although you will notice the doubling becoming less noticeable the further east you travel on the letters of "In God We Trust, with only very minor doubling seen on the date of the coin as well. And in this case, a coin in a PCGS slab with a spectacular grade of MS67 red was sold at auction in 2025 for the final price of $1,912. And then we have one more variety that is definitely worth a mention. And this one is, well, it's one of the most spectacularly wonderful varieties that you are likely to encounter anytime soon. And this coin is the compounding result of multiple things going wrong at seemingly the same time. The most obvious of which you will immediately notice on the lower reverse, where an absolutely giant cud obscures half of the letters of 1 cent, the result of an absolutely catastrophic die break on the reverse. The resulting difference in striking pressure then also leads to a portion of the corresponding location on the obverse of the coin not properly striking up, and the letters of "in God" also being affected. Then, in addition to this, the obverse has very clear clash marks on it where the letters of liberty, specifically the I, B, and E, can be seen inverted above the 1 and the 9 of the date, running in a diagonal direction. An absolutely spectacular variety that definitely deserves more recognition and has proven to be one of the most difficult to obtain in any grade for this date. In 2023, a PCGS graded AU58 example of this coin was sold by Heritage for $1,320. And then, I suppose I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention one more coin. Well, technically not a variety in the strictest sense, but an error coin. I'm of course speaking of the 1983 penny struck on a copper planchet, which is a transitional error, as all 1983 pennies were supposed to be struck on the newer zinc core coins, and not on the older bronze or copper pennies that were phased out in 1982. The easiest way, of course, to tell the difference between the older copper pennies and the newer copper-clad or zinc core coins is simply by weighing them. The newer coins are significantly lighter at only around 2.5 grams, whereas the copper coins should weigh in the region of 3.1 grams each. So in 2024, the finest known of these transitional error coins, of which really only a handful are known, graded by PCGS as MS65 Red, was sold at auction by Great Collections and blew everything else out of the water when it sold for $29,500. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to watch another video about the 1982 Lincoln Cent varieties right here next. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.